The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Hello there, welcome to another episode of The Locker Room with me, myself, and Mr. Duffy, my partner in crime. And I was just saying to Graham before we came on air, what a difference it was, because years gone back, past year, thinking, well, that's the Scotland games over. We don't have to put up with them for another few weeks. But now, when we do the show, it's like, it's a Premiership this weekend. The Scotland games are over, so it's night and day. So so welcome to the Locker Room on Indie Live Radio. And the Penguins Live. We're here until 7 o'clock. As you know, you might be a bit bored of me saying this. Graham's a bit bored of, to be honest, everything I say in the show. You can comment on YouTube or Twitter and or Facebook Live, actually. I get a lot of comments on Tuesday night. I wonder why. We would like more comments like that tonight. And also you can follow us on Twitter at The Locker Room Indie. We're here until 7 o'clock. Graham, have you recovered yet?
No. I've been celebrating for the last few days because it was just still such a brilliant result. And it's actually been more funnier the fact that I've been having a look at some of the Spanish press and stuff, and they've been very negative about Scotland. And all you've got to do is look at the comments from Rodri, who isn't happy, but you know what? Take it on the chin, move on. You got beat by the better team. But, I mean, some of these comments are just ridiculous. But, I mean, I did say on Tuesday, whenever the game was, I did say that I thought that Spain underestimated Scotland. And now, I don't think they'll do that again. They made 8 changes to that game, and I said it that night, we were brilliant. We were absolutely fantastic that night, and everyone did their job on the pitch. And you're right. Now we go back to the normal football, and I actually wish it was Scotland again, and I never thought I'd say that. But now we've got till, I think it's June, is the next game against Norway, so we are in a very good position so far. Sitting top of the group after 2 games, we're in a very strong position just now, and we know that we can go up against the best and beat them now. So yeah, I'm still on cloud 9 from that game, because it was just such a monumental win. And I spoke to a couple of my mates, because one of my mates that I work with is actually at the game, and he phoned me the day after the game and said the atmosphere was amazing, and it looked it. It's very hard to tell on TV, but it did look an incredible atmosphere. And he got back about 2 o'clock in the morning or something, because he was out celebrating. So yeah, it was a brilliant night. And as I said the other night as well, this is maybe Stevie Clarke's defining moment now, because I think we said on the other night that there's still a lot of Scotland fans who are not overly convinced with Stevie Clarke. I hope that now has dispelled any negativity, because that was a fantastic result, great performance, and I'm still loving the fact that Rodri is so bitter about it. It's brilliant.
You mentioned about the Hampden, Hampden Park and all that. That's quite good, because obviously, years gone back past, we've been to a cup semi-final, cup games involving Celtic, Rangers, or Hearts, or in this case Scotland, and the atmosphere seems to be a bit kind of, because you're miles away from the park. But in this occasion, these 2 occasions, people don't bat an eyelid about it, because obviously the team's so good on the park, and the atmosphere was brilliant. I saw some videos and social media during the week.
Oh, the atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. Everyone's talked about it. It was a brilliant atmosphere, and that's what Scotland fans want. They want that passion, they want that attitude on the pitch, and they got that. They got that and more. They were absolutely brilliant. And as I say, a couple of mates were there, and they loved it. It was just an unbelievable night. And hopefully, I mean, I don't want to get too overconfident, but I genuinely believe that we could qualify from this group. I really believe that. That gives me a lot of confidence. And we've probably got players to come back as well. You've got like John Sutton that to come back. And again, it's been talked a lot as well, but Callum McGregor, he just gets better with every game. And you look at what he did in the last minute, bursting forward at 2-0 up, having put in a massive shift, and nearly makes a goal for Lawrence Shanklin, and if he'd scored that, I'd have been on the roof. But yeah, it was just an unbelievable night.
A big shout out to Mr. Elliot himself, as his Sunday name goes, James. He'll be on tomorrow on Indie Live Radio, and on the first night was Ur Country. I love that name. It's Ur Country game, Graham. It's not your country, it's Ur Country. So listen out for that on first night. Yeah, we were going to speak about the Rangers head coach should be banned from the game. We're going to speak about that in a minute or two, but just rounding up the Scotland Cup leagues, I think we've got a game in, is it April, against England? Did you say, Graham, the other night in a kind of friendly?
I think we don't play them until September.
Oh, well, then I'm jumping ahead. Merry Christmas. So we'll park the Scotland game from now, and we'll come back to that later on. But it's good to be back speaking about domestic football this weekend. One place we usually start by speaking about the championship game tonight. We'll get onto that and so on and so forth later on. But we need to start off by James's comment that he made earlier on, and we're going to speak about it now. We were hoping to have somebody from women in sport and women in Scottish sport to come on the show. Unfortunately, we were unable to get Maureen, so hopefully she'll be back on very soon indeed. But Glenn, we can't really go a full show without not speaking about the game on Monday night between Celtic and Rangers, the women's game. And I must underline that this was on Sky Sports, but it was another embarrassing moment for Scottish football.
It was, and we talk about the women's game quite a lot. We do talk it up on the show, and we'll continue to do so. And it was a big night. The first game that was getting shown live on Sky, Celtic Rangers. It was a decent game of football. Both teams really going hammer and tongs, and obviously Celtic get that late goal, as even in men's football they tend to do as well. And then for some reason, the Rangers coach decide go on the pitch and not only headbutt Fran Alonso from behind, but also call a little rat. Now, there is no justification for anything that he's done. You can be frustrated at losing a last-minute goal, but there's clearly something more in that, because there's no way he's reacting like that after losing a late goal. And there's no justification at all in what he did. And he was coward using, and he is. It's a cowardly act. And, I know Police Scotland are investigating now, but what I find surprising, or maybe I don't find surprising, is that there's been no statement from Rangers condemning it. There's been absolutely nothing. I think there was a bit earlier on in Michael Beale's press conference where he basically said that he's not seen it yet. I don't know how you've not seen that yet, because it's been all over the news. It's been highlighted massively, and your club's involved. I don't know how you can't have seen that yet. Now, Rangers should have come out straight after it and said, look, we're conducting our own internal investigation. We will, this will be sorted out. We'll make a statement later on. But to have nothing after all this time, after such a disgusting incident, let's be honest, it's a disgusting incident. There was kids at that game that have watched that and thinking, why has he done that? As I said, there is no justification for doing anything like that. And to go onto the pitch and basically assault somebody and do it from behind as well, it's a scandal. And I don't know what Police Scotland will do, but clearly something has to be done, because there's no excuse for that. And I hope that the guy is ashamed of himself, because he should be. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah, Rangers quote, let's mention this name, Craig McPherson basically ran on the park, and Celtic scored, what was it, in 97 minutes or something for the equaliser. Rangers were 1-1-0. But the game's been overshadowed, Graham. And I'm a big advocate, and I know you are, since you've been on the show, about selling the game, whether it's the men's game or the women's game on Sky, BBC, STV, whatever. But do you think this will put Sky TV off now, covering the women's game?
I hope, because I'm thinking it's just an isolated incident. I don't think we'll see that again. I hope we don't. You know, the fact that it was on Sky and the highlighted wasn't really so. And if you're an outsider watching that, hopefully you maybe watched it. But if you're an outsider, you're looking at it thinking, why has he done that? You know, what's the need for that? And it puts the women's game in a bad light, and it really shouldn't. You know, I hope it doesn't put Sky off, and I don't think it will. But for him to do that, it's just, I don't know what's happened during the game. As I said, there is no excuse for that. There's no provocation for him. I don't know what's happened during the game for him to act like that. And, you know, the women's game has been on an absolute massive high for a long, long time now. It's getting highlighted a lot more than it usually is. You know, we get the highlights package on BBC, which is great. We now have this game getting shown live on Sky. And I'm sure there were a lot of folk tuned in for that. I did. And it has overshadowed a really good game. You know, we should be talking about a really good game of football, the fact that Celtic didn't give up, the fact that they got that last goal, and instead it's been completely overshadowed by an absolute idiot doing what he did. You know, if that had been a fan, you know, I don't know how many folk were there, but a fan could have just ran on the pitch and confronted him after that, and then it would have set the whole thing off. So it doesn't paint it in a good light. And again, I just find it shame done that. But I find it shameful that there's been no statement from Rangers condemning it. I think it's an absolute joke.
Yeah, obviously Celtic and the SFA has come out with a statement and choosing it. And as I say, Graham mentioned that Michael Beale claims that he's not saw it yet, but I think he has. Just be honest with your fans and with the media as well. But Graham, I was going to talk about the word, and I don't really like this word. It's a bit of a cliche word, role models. Now, lots of women out there and girls want to move into coaching, and when they're watching the game, and the managers are there to set a good example, and obviously when they see that, you know, he's not a role model. I don't know what he is, Graham, but he's certainly not a kind of role model or a kind of good example to people getting involved in the game.
Of course, if you've got kids that have been there or watching that game on TV, and you're saying to your like mum or dad, why is he that? What do you answer to that? There's no answer to that. It's a shameful and cowardly incident. You know, to do that, to go up to a guy and behind him headbutt. There's no justification in doing that kind of thing. And I hope that it doesn't put people off coaching, because, listen, it's an isolated incident. It can't, and I'm sure it won't happen again, but something is clearly riled him during that game. But as I keep on saying, there is no excuse for it. But to act like that can't, for me, be just because you lost a goal. Because you mentioned that before we came on air. If you were disappointed about the fact you lost that goal and you maybe weren't overly happy, then don't shake the guy's hand. Don't go on the pitch. Just walk away. Go into the dressing room. Just walk away from it. But to then go on the pitch and in front of everybody, the players who had to separate him, and you could see the shock in Fernando Alonso's face as well that happened. I mean, he's lucky that. I mean, listen, I don't know how hard they hit him. I don't think it was that bad, but that could have been a lot worse. That could have been a lot worse. And you know, fair play to Fernando Alonso, because he came out after the game and basically he was not trying to play it down, but he could have hit back. He could have done anything, but he didn't. He showed restraint, which is more than what Craig McPherson did. But I'm just hoping that the authorities basically give McPherson the most toughest sentence they could get. Again, I don't know what the police will do, but I kind of agree with James as well. I mean, the guy, for me, should be probably banned for life for that. He really should be. Whether he is, I don't know.
Do you think as well, Graham, just going on from James's point, and I said to you as well, do you think he should be in jail by now? Or that, you know?
Well, if you did that on the street, somebody would be. You know, you'd be locked up. This is no different. He's done it on a football pitch. It's, you know, it's not like you can say, oh, it's alleged. No, it's not. It was caught on camera. You know, everybody saw it. You know, even after the game, you've got the commentators on that, and the only thing they're talking about is that incident. when they're talking about the game, and it's been overshadowed completely by that. So yeah, I don't know what Police Scotland will do. I think he's hearing, I think it's the 13th of April to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets, I mean, I think probably what we'll get is a fine. I don't think he can have a slap on the wrist. I don't think he'll get sentenced for it. I think maybe about a large fine, but we'll have to see what happens. But I'm interested to see what Rangers do. You know, so far they've done nothing. And I know that Michael Beale has said in his thing this afternoon that it's kind of with the coaches and all that kind of stuff as well with the club. So I would hope that in the next couple of days, certainly, that somebody from Rangers has the balls to come out and say, no, that's not acceptable. We've reviewed the footage. Not that you had to, because it was clearly seen what he did. But I would hope that somebody has got the, do you know what? Nah, unacceptable. He's got to go. Because that's not what, you know, I'd say this if it was Hearts, Hibs, anybody. You can't have somebody at your club who acts aggressively like that. It doesn't put your club in a good light. And I keep going back to this. I just don't understand why Rangers have not made a statement yet. You know, they clearly must have seen that. I don't agree with what Michael Beale said. Stevie Wonder could have seen what happened there. You know, for him to say that he's not seen it yet, when it's been clearly highlighted on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere it's been highlighted, how the manager of Rangers has not seen that, that's a joke. Absolute joke.
But I mean, Grim, like you're saying, and I get what you're saying, right? But if they come out with a statement tomorrow, Sunday, or even next Wednesday, it's still too late for them to come out with a statement. But with your, like, if you've done something to somebody in your own work or whatever, that would be an automatic. You would be out of a job by now. So why have Rangers not come out and say no, it was out of order? They released a statement and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. McPherson. There's the door there. Don't come back to this club."
I'm a lover, not a fighter. I never do a thing like that. Even if you know me, wouldn't do that. But yeah, I mean, it is true. You know, he should have been basically, that happened on Monday. He should have been kicked out by Tuesday or Wednesday. You know, they should have basically said, this is a no tolerance thing. We have to act now. And the fact they've not done it puts Rangers to shame as well. You know, the fact that nobody's come out and said a single word about it. Because I was looking at Twitter earlier just to make sure I hadn't missed nothing. I haven't, because nothing's been said. So yeah. There should be serious sanctions. I don't know if the SWPL can get involved and do something, but something should be happening. Whether they're going to wait till after the hearing on the 13th, I don't know. But something should have happened long before now, because this is now Friday and he's still there. And he shouldn't be. He really shouldn't be.
And he still gets paid by Rangers as well for doing that kind of thing. So he's not actually, going back to my point earlier on, like, he's not setting a good example.
No, it's not. I'd like to think that he's going home after he's gone, oh, what have I done? Why did I do that? But you know, I brought myself into shame. I brought the club into shame.
Yeah, but it's too late.
Oh, it's too late, completely too late. But I'd like to think if he's got any kind of sense of morals or sense of anything, that he would be saying, you know, actually, what he should do is he should go into Rangers and say, you know what, I've let myself down, I've let you guys down, I'm gonna quit. That's what he should do. But because as you say, he's getting paid, but he's brought embarrassment and shame on Rangers as a club. The men's game, he's brought shame on the whole club. And the fact that nobody's come out and said anything about it just makes it even worse. And as I say, I've got to say as well, I have to give credit to Alonso, because he didn't react, and he could have done. You know, you can see on the pitch that Celtic players and Rangers players were trying to pull McPherson away. Alonso could have easily reacted. He could have lashed out, and he didn't. I'm sure he would have wanted to. You know, we're all human. If somebody does that to you, you're quite within your rights to lash out, and he didn't do that. So fair play to Fernando Alonso, because he could have made that a lot worse, and he didn't. So again, I would hope that Craig McPherson has had a look himself in the mirror and gone, do you know what? I probably shouldn't be here. You know, I've embarrassed myself in the club. I need to make the decision that I'm going to walk away now before I bring any more shame on the club. But he's not done that.
And I know we're not talking about the game, and we should be talking about the game because it was a good advert for the game. But going back to the point that you may get the on, Graham, what happened if Rangers won 1-0? I mean, obviously, we wouldn't have known that he could have still done that on the park. But what if Rangers won 1-0? You know?
It's hard to say for sure, but I don't think if Rangers win that game, he's acting like that. But again, I would like to think that he's not acting. I mean, the fact that he's headbutted the guy, he's gone on the pitch and headbutted him from behind. He's had that in his head. He's going to do that, and then to call him a little rat as well. That for me is more than just conceding the last minute goal. There's clearly tensions happened there. I don't know what. We're never going to know that. But there's clearly tensions have happened there, and he's kicked out. And there's no. But as you say, we should be talking about the fact that this game was everyone's Sky. It was a really good game of football. Rangers played well. Celtic came back. That goal from in the last. But unfortunately, it's been completely overshadowed by the actions of an absolute mindless idiot. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the police will do. I mean, I'm interested to see what they're going to do. I certainly don't think they're going to do this because how can you drop it? Because that's basically assault. So something should happen. Whether it does, something should happen. Whether it does, I don't know. But I'd like to think even by now that police might have said, well, we've charged the guy for whatever. I don't think they'll do that, but it's not a great incident. It really isn't. I hope we'd come on the show tonight and talk about a really good game, but unfortunately, it's been completely overshadowed by what happened on the pitch. And I do hope that anybody that was at the game will still go back to these games and not be affected by the actions of somebody that was just an idiot. Let's be honest, because you don't want to ruin the women's game. Have built up a really, really good, a really, really good foundation. It's been great. We talk about this a lot on the show, and it's been brilliant. And it shouldn't be wrecked by the actions of one person because it's very, very rare. I mean, it's never happened. I certainly don't think it'll happen again. It's not even happened at a Hearts Hibs game yet. I'd like to think that won't happen, but you don't want things to get wrecked because of that. Because it's been such a great thing for the women's game to have this kind of exposure, and the fact that it was live on Sky. I don't know how many folk were tuning in, but the fact that it was shown live is brilliant, and it shouldn't be spoiled by the actions of this complete clown. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well said, Graham. Before we move on, let's have a look at the women's games this weekend. Well, actually, we're going to be on air and the game kicks off again, so we're going to keep an eye on some of the game that kicks off at 3 o'clock. Celtic against Packet Thistle, that is a 12:10 kickoff. Aberdeen against Spartans, Motherwell against Dundee United in the Hearts. Oh, Graham, it's a bit of a dabber there, actually. Hearts against Glasgow City, 3 o'clock kickoff. Hamilton against Glasgow Women's is a 4 o'clock kickoff, and 4:10, I presume because it's on the telly, is Rangers against Hamilton on Sunday. And we'll keep you up to date with the games on Sunday. Right, let's go into the football because that's what we're here to talk about. We don't really like talking about these kind of incidents, Graham. But let's begin at the Championship. There's a big game tonight against bottom of the table. They're now 8th at the table. Abrov, and they are at home to Ayr United, who is sick, who's sitting third in the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest surprise last week when we did the show last Friday, I said I couldn't see Arbroath getting anything against Queen's Park because Queen's Park was strong. What do I know? Because Queen's Park then go and get beat by Arbroath. So fair play to Campbell. I mean, it was a really good performance from them, to be fair, and they're now off the foot of the table, so they're looking to try and climb up a little bit. I think they're a bit too far behind Wraith or 10 points, but they put themselves in a better position than they were. But they're up against a very good Ayr United side. Ayr are sitting third. They are still very much in there with a chance of automatic. So again, like you said, but Arbroath will be absolutely buoyed by that result. last week against Queen's Park because nobody would have expected that. So it's a big, big game. And I think, I don't know how to say this, but that Ayr United side, I think it's a really good side that they've got there. And I just keep saying this about Akinyemi. He is far too good for that championship. I genuinely will be very surprised if he's still there at the end of the season. I think he'll be going to, obviously not Celtic Rangers, but anyone else in that top of the...
Would you take him at Tynecastle?
I would, but I have heard through certain sources there is a possibility that Joel Newbley will come into Hearts in the summer. Now, I know that he signed a new contract at Livingston, but there is rumours that he's coming to Hearts in the summer. And I'll be honest, I'm quite happy to take that. I've said before, I think Newbley is vastly underrated. He's been a brilliant signing for David Martindale's men. He's, for a guy his size, for a guy his size, he's good in the air. He's got good, quick feet. You would think a guy like that will be all he'll be is physical. He's a far better player than that. Same with Akinyemi. So I think if we sign Newbley, I'll be delighted with that. But I think Akinyemi, for me, I wouldn't be surprised. I know we'll get to Aberdeen later on, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's signed somebody that maybe Aberdeen go for, or even Hibs, because I think he's far too good for the Championship. He's not. I think 21 goals he's got this season, and he's been brilliant. So yeah, I think he'll be gone in the summer. But they've got good side. You know, I feel like Lee Billonick has done a very good job, and I do expect. I think I said this last week, but I do expect United to win. But on the back of what happened this week, I'm not as convinced as I was.
If you were a Blow fan, Graham, it's mixed feelings, because a couple of weeks ago they were rooted to the bottom of the table, and I think I said here in the show as well, Graham, that football's a funnel game sometimes, where one season you're up at the top going for the league, and then at the next season you're at the very bottom of the table going for survival. Do you think that if a Blow survives this season, i.e. stay up, that would be a kind of successful season and a bluff, or do you think they would be a bit disappointed how they're not like up there?
It was always going to be very hard to replicate what they did last season. You know, last season turned unbelievable performance, and to be fair to Dick Campbell, he did say that when they played against Kilmarnock in that playoff final, he got it wrong. You know, got his tactic, he got his team wrong. But they were unbelievable last season. And it was always going to be, it's a bit like the kind of Leicester City syndrome. In the Premiership, it was always going to be very hard to replicate that, and they've never been the same since. And I think it's the same with Arbroath. They were always going to find it tough. They've had injuries. It's been a disappointing season for them. But I kind of think, maybe Dick Campbell wouldn't agree with this, but I kind of think if they stay up, that's actually a better achievement than what they did last season, because they've had struggles this season. There's no doubt about that. They've had a lot of injuries, a lot of inconsistency. You know, their top scorer is Michael McKenna, who's only got 5 goals. So they're lacking that bit of quality up front. So if they stay up, I think that'd be fantastic for Campbell. And then they can try and go from there. I think I was looking at their fixture. So obviously they play tonight. And then they are got the fixture. They've only got 7 games left. So they play tonight. Then they're at home to Dundee. They're away to Inverness. They're away to Raith, home to Cove. They're away to Partick, and they're at home to Hamilton. So they've got tough games coming up against teams that are challenging for that promotion place. But if Dick Campbell can stay up, and you know what? There's every chance they will, because they're clearly fighting for him. And that showed last week. You know, taking on the best team in the league in Queen's Park and beating them, and really restricting Queen's Park to very few chances was great. And if they could do the same tonight, you know, we know what Arbroath's like. It's windy, it's cold. It could be a tough night for Ayr United. I'm interested to see what this game is going to do. But if Arbroath can win this, they'll pull themselves away from the bottom 2. I still think at the moment, looking at the table, Hamilton on 25, Cove on 26, Arbroath on 28. Very tight in there. You know, everybody now, it's getting to the business end of the season. There's only 7 games left. Everyone's looking for that kind of trying to stay up or trying to get automatic promotion or try to get the playoff place. Every game is a must win. And that starts tonight. That's for both teams as well. Because Ayr United know that if they win today, they go second when Dundee are playing tomorrow against Hamilton. A game you didn't expect Dundee to win because they're at home. So every game now is so important. You've got to win these games. So it's a tough game for United tonight, but they're right on the coattails. And, you know, I don't know. I keep saying this and I'll keep repeating myself. I want Queen's Park to come up, but last week, massive, massive blow. They were looking to try and get back on the rails against Wales. A difficult game. You know, Wraith have come off the back of their first ever loss in the FPL Trust Trophy. They hadn't lost before that. So Wraith will be up for this. So very difficult games to call, but I just have that sneaky feeling that Ayr United might just sneak it tonight. But would they be surprised if Arbroath win? On the back of last week, probably not.
Let's look at Cove Rangers, Graham, who is another. This is another kind of bottom versus top class in the league. Cove Rangers against Packet Thistle. Now, Packet Thistle could still make the playoffs, Graham, and that would be some achievement by letting Ian McCall kind of go. And to be honest, we still don't know why he left. There must have been a reason why he left. But for the Packet Thistle to appoint a new manager and come in, done a brilliant job, and they've got a chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, Cove's last win was actually against Partick Thistle in February, and that was actually at Park Ground. So Cove will be thinking, you know what, we could beat them again here. So Partick will be very wary. And I think we talked about it at the time. When Rangers played Partick Thistle in that cup game, we were live on air doing that game. And we were highlighting the fact that Partick Thistle were brilliant. You know, they're one of the very few teams, and I include Hearts in this because we're awful at Ibrox. They're one of the very few teams that I've seen, apart from Celtic, go to Ibrox and have a go. You know, they just got everyone forward. They had a goal. And Partick were brilliant that day. And when the news came out that Ian McCall had been sacked, there was a kind of massive what? That it was a really weird feeling after what they did, you know, to sack the guy. Clearly it wasn't on the back of that Rangers game because they were brilliant. But to be fair to Chris Doolan, he's come in, taken on the role. He's done a good job so far. And you're right. You know, they are looking to try and get that playoff place, and there's every chance they could. But they'll be wary of Cove because I've just mentioned that they've already lost to them. So they'll be very wary of them. You know, Paul Hartley's had a difficult time at Cove Rangers. They've not won since that game against Partick. So I'll be honest, I was surprised that Hartley went there. I'm a massive Paul Hartley fan after what he did at Hearts. But I was surprised that he went to Cove because they're not, you know, without due disrespect, they're not the biggest of clubs. So it was a bit of a shock that he went there. But I'd like to see him get out of it just because of the Paul Hartley effect, and I love Paul Hartley. But I just think that tomorrow, I think Partick will treat this with the respect they deserve. And I think Partick probably will win the game. And if Chris Doolan wins tomorrow, that's a massive 3 points. Because again, they want to pull away from the chase and pack. Morton are only 2 points behind them. They're only 6 points in front of Inverness. So there's a lot. That's why I keep saying the Championship is a great league. Everybody is so kind of tight in there. Every game now is a must win. There's 7 games left in the season. Everybody's fighting for different places. So it's a massive, massive weekend tomorrow. And I think the other games tomorrow as well, you've got Cove, Partick, Dundee, Hamilton, which I've just mentioned, Morton, Inverness, and Wraith, Queen's Park. Dundee, Hamilton, you would think, should be an easy 3 points for Gary Bowyer's side. You know, second against 10th. Hamilton have struggled recently. I do like John Rankin again, the Hearts effect there, but they've struggled recently. You've got to assume that Dundee will win that and breathing down the coattails of Queen's Park, but it's just so tight. You know, you can't really afford to drop any points in this league because if you do, you could be end of a disappointing result. And tomorrow, I'm looking at the league table. Queen's Park are on 54, Dundee on 50, Ayr on 49, Partick on 45, and Morton on 43. It's so tight in that league.
Speaking about Packet Thistle, Graham, I think if you were a Packet Thistle fan, you would want to make it in the playoffs, but you would want to make it in the final because am I not right that they got to the quarterfinals last year and Inverness beat them over 2 games?
Yeah. Back to that again. I mean, obviously they want to get automatic promotion. I think that might be a little bit out of their reach, to be honest. But if they can get those player places, and there's no reason to think they won't, then yeah, I think they would fancy maybe going up. And again, this is why I keep talking about the fact that I would like to see the league reconstructed, because for me, and I know you don't play games on paper, but for me, Dundee, Partick, Inverness, Wraith, they're Premier League sides for me, which is why I'd like to see the league extended. And as well, I want to see Queen's Park come up. Now, Queen's Park, I think, will probably do that anyway. But I'd like to see the other teams in the Premier League because I think they would bring something to the party. I know, I said this last week. I know I said, Queen's Park would be an embarrassment. I don't agree. I think Queen's Park would hold their own. I think they'd be in the bottom 6, I think, but I don't think they'd be any worse than a Kilmarnock or a St John's Motherwell. I think they would hold their own against these kind of teams. You know, look at what, I know it's a long time ago now, and actually it's quite funny, I'm going off on a tangent here, but last week I was watching A View from the Terrace, and they had this, it was a 2-part thing on Gretna, and the way that they came up, and they established themselves as a good Premier League side. You know, I think they finished 3rd, I think it was. There's no reason that Queen's Park couldn't do that in time, but I just love to see Queen's Park coming up. I think it'll be a brilliant story, and I'm definitely, even though I'm a Hearts fan, I'm fully backing Queen's Park to come up. I think it'll be brilliant. It'll be a great story. And tomorrow's a match game for them against Wraith. You know, Wraith are going to be up for it after what happened against in the Challenge Cup thing last week. They're up for that. And the fact that it's on that plastic pitch at Starks Park as well, it's a difficult game. If Queen's Park come away with that with 3 points, they're more than on the road to promote.
Okay, that's the Championship. Let's dive into the Premiership, Graham. I don't know if you saw this news. I'm only seeing it for the first time, Graham, but I wanted to get your views on this. The SPFL has no plans to change the fixture list on the weekend of King Charles's coronation, meaning Celtic will still have the chance to cleanse the title on the same day, on the 6th of May. Right decision, Graham?
100%, completely 100%. I really couldn't care less about King Charles' coronation. You know, I genuinely don't care. So I would more than have football on. It has no effect on me at all. And it shouldn't have an effect on fans either, for me. I think we saw, and I'm not being disrespectful, but when the Queen died, Hearts were playing Fiorentina in the Europa League. And at half-time, when it was read out, none of the players knew what to do. They were standing there like, do we stand in minute silence? Do we clap? What do we do? Nobody had a clue, and it was a farce. I don't think the King Charles coronation should have anything to do with football for me. So I think it's, for once, maybe I think this is actually twice now I've agreed with SFA on something, and I don't like doing that because I don't like them. But I think this is another good thing they've done. I think that should be the right thing, and it is. So I have absolutely no problem with that, and I don't think most football fans will, to be honest.
And I think you'll have the full backing of Indie Live Radio as well, and Independent Live and everybody else. I know we don't talk about politics on the show, but I thought, well, that's to do with football, so let's speak about it. But yeah, I totally agree with you as well.
I did wonder though, see how they're talking about the King's coronation. Does that mean on Coronation Street?
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah. I'll give you that one. Yeah, 1-0. Yeah. Fair enough. I'm just hearing that Willie Corum is on VR duty and he is saying, nope, it's offside. Oh, no, wait a minute. No, it's Kingsgis. Oh, wait. It's Kingsgis man get what? It's Kingsgis man for a fifth time. Yeah, exactly.
It's a penalty Rangers, apparently.
Yeah, no, exactly. I wonder what they will do that day. Anyway, let's move on to talk about the champions, the Premiership this weekend. And let's kick off at Easter Road, Graham's second best team in the league, Motherwell. They're playing against Hibs tomorrow. Yeah, I know it's only been a week, Graham, right? But it feels funny speaking about the games this weekend. But hey ho, Hibs, Motherwell tomorrow. What do you think here? I think this would be a decent game because Stuart Kettlewell's got them doing well, and Lee Johnson is on a kind of good run of form, apart from when they went to Celtic Park before the international break.
Yeah, this is a this is a big game, and it's actually quite a big game for Hearts as well, because we need to beat Kilmarnock and then hope that Hibs don't beat Motherwell because they're sneaking up behind us. But Hibs have been a decent run, and the fact that they are at home, they've had a decent run at home. So expect Hibs to be up. You know, the thing is as well, you always wonder after an international break, how teams are going to do. You know, they've not seen each other not played together for a couple of weeks. It can be difficult to get into your stride. There'll be a decent crowd at Easter Road tomorrow, I think. So it'll be a difficult. I think Motherwell have done very well. You know, obviously a lot of race with the break. Maybe not a massive shock. Maybe the fact they lost 1-0 up, but he's done a very good job there. So yeah, I think Hibs will be up for this tomorrow. They do have a lot of good players. I said it before. Ellie Ewan's been very good, but he will be suspended because he got sent off against Celtic before the break. So he'll be suspended. That's a massive blow for them. So it'll be a difficult game tomorrow. I do expect that. And I know Colin Johnson actually earlier on today that he talked about the fact that Hibs and every other league would need a chic owner to come in and play money in to catch Rangers and Celtic. I kind of know where he's coming from, but I don't know if that would make a massive difference, to be honest, because you've got to then sign the right players. You know, you're not going to get a sheik coming and go, do you know what? Let's get Mbappe to Hibs. Let's get Messi to Hibs. Let's get Ronaldo to Hibs. That's not going to happen. You've got to spend the money right. Very difficult, but I kind of know where he's coming from, because I would love to be challenging Celtic Rangers every season. I know it's not going to happen realistically, but we had a how do I put this? We had an eccentric owner in Romanov, and look what happened with that. He basically left us with a ton of debt. He left us in the Championship, having to play youngsters with a 15-point deduction. So sometimes bringing these kind of oligarchs in isn't always a good thing. Now, don't get me wrong, there were good moments in that, winning the Scottish Cup and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't always work. So I just think that you have to concentrate on your own performances and your own game. And I think Hibs are in a good place just now, unfortunately for me. They are very much in with a shout at getting third place. I hope it doesn't happen. I'll be gutted if it does. But yeah, I do think this is a good game tomorrow. But I think, saying this, Kettlewell's done a very good job since he's been there. And I signing of John Obika has been a massive help, because they were relying, and we said this on the show numerous times, they relied far too much on Van Veen. He's now got somebody else there that can kind of take the weight off him. And Obika is a very good player. You know, he starts a few times, so he could cause a problem tomorrow. But I do just think with home advantage, I think Hibs might just sneak this tomorrow.
How different will it be for Hibs, because Lee Johnson is suspended from the touchline? He's got, I think it's a 4-match ban or something. I think that's because he flew the ball on at Celtic Park after a frustrated challenge at the game at Parkhead 2 weeks ago. So do you think Hibs will miss him tomorrow?
I'm never sure how that kind of affects a team, you know, if the manager's not there. And I kind of think if you're a manager, you probably see more sitting in the stand. You can see the whole pitch, you see what's happening. I don't really think it's going to be that much of a difference. You know, he'll have done his team talk before the game. I'm assuming he's allowed in the dressing room at halftime to give his team talk. So I don't think it'll make a massive difference. I think Johnson will be a good thing as well, because he can see what's happening on the pitch. And if he needs to change anything, he can radio down to his assistant who can make changes. So I think a massive thing. You know, Robbie Nielsen had that a while ago as well, and I don't actually think it made a huge difference, to be honest, because once you got your instructions onto the players before the game, all they've got to do is carry it out. You know, I don't think managers really can show passion on the touchline as Lee Johnson has done, but I don't think it's going to make a massive, massive difference. And I think tomorrow, this is a game that Hibs are looking to win, because they will probably, maybe they won't, but they will probably expect Hearts to go to Kilmarnock and win. So they then know that they have to beat Motherwell to kind of catch us up. So it's a massive weekend for me in football terms. Their game tomorrow, ours tomorrow, Aberdeen away to St Johnstone. These are huge, huge games that third spot. So it's a massive, massive weekend. And I'm hoping, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm hoping Motherwell will get something tomorrow, because I know we'll get to it shortly, but I am not convinced we'll beat Kilmarnock.
Reg Scotland said, hi, Graham and Michael. Good evening to Reg Scotland as well. Hopefully you're well. Thanks for watching on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, you can comment on anything that me and the big man is saying. I don't know why I say that. It's the first name that came into my head. We're here until 7 o'clock tonight. Lee Johnson said, we need to select the right team because Murrow has been going well since they changed the manager, so it'll be a very difficult game for us. And now until the end of the season, every game is important to us. Meanwhile, Stuart Kettlewell said, we face a good Hibs side, but we need to understand what they are good at, but we need to win games as well. The only bit of team news tomorrow is Stuart Kettlewell wasn't giving anything away at his press conference today. Murrow's got one or two players out, but he says, I'm not kidding you guys, so I take it we weren't to know. The only team news is for the High Bees. As Joe Neal. Joe Neal is back in the squad for Hibs. And that's the team news. Reg Scotland basically said, how good were Scotland the other night? I'm looking forward to the league business getting set up again, Scacky back up again at the weekend. I don't know what you mean about just United. I don't know what happened. I was at the bingo. Anyway, so yeah, big game for Murrow as well, because even though they've changed the manager, they actually look quite decent. Murrow now under Stuart Kettlewell.
They do. I don't think they're going to get top six. They're 9 points off that, and about 4 games left. I think they've maybe left themselves a bit too much to do, but they will look to try and be best of the rest. I don't think they'll be in any relegation trouble. I think they'll be absolutely fine there. But to be fair, I mean, I don't understand how pretty much Kettlewell's got the same team. I know he's made a few adjustments, but he's got pretty much the same team that Hamill had. He's getting more out of this team than what Hamill did. I never understand how that happens. It's like the players just down tools under Hamill, which is not good. You know, that's not good. But to be fair to Kettlewell, he's done a very good job. You know, he seems to have a system now that he's happy with, the players are happy with. They've got a lot more energy now than they had under Stevie Hamill, but then that wasn't difficult because they had none. So you've got to give him credit. As I said, the only game he's lost was a game against, and they've battled really well. And they started to score a few goals again, which they weren't doing before. And I'd say that's why they've got that partnership now of Abika and Kevin Van Veen. So they now look a lot better. They maybe have too late to get top six, but I think if I'm Stuart Kettlewell, I just want to get this season over with, then rebuild in the summer, maybe 4 or 5 new players, and then try and go again in the summer and try and get that top 6 next season, because you don't want to be down that relegation part again. But they are sitting on 30 points. They're 9th in the league. They're pretty much 8 points ahead of United in last place. I don't think United are going to. I've already said before, I think United are going to go down automatically. I think they're down. So Motherwell are going to be fine. And I think if you're a Motherwell fan right now, you've got to be delighted at what Kettlewell's done, because he has turned it round massively from how bad they were before. I always wonder if, like, managers, when they leave a club, like Jim Goodwin, like Stevie Hamill, like Stephen Glass, when they see the team that they've left doing better than they did themselves, what do that they're doing now? You know, what did I not get out of this new manager's getting? It must be a thing to think about, because I would be. If that was me, I'd be thinking, well, how's he getting more out of them than I did? What's he doing differently? So yeah, I mean, Stuart Kettlewell's done a great job, and if I wouldn't be surprised if they go East Road tomorrow and win, but I just think with Hibs with that home advantage, and Hibs have been good at home recently. I know they were beaten comfortably by Rangers a few weeks ago, but apart from that, they've been quite decent at home, scoring a few goals. So it'll be a big game tomorrow. And as I say, I'm always a bit concerned after an international break how the players are going to be. You know, how fit are they? How up for it they're going to be? Because, as I said, there is only a few games left of the split. And I know that I think this afternoon they announced the dates for split games as well. So, yeah, there's a long way to go. But think fair play to Motherwell Stuart Kettle because they're doing a very, very good job.
Yeah, on one man who's got Stuart Kettlewell's got a tune out of, and we spoke about him, Grim, and he wasn't doing very well for Motherwell, is Kevin Van Veen. It seems as though that he's got a new lease of life under him.
He does. I mean, Van Veen was pretty much the only threat they had for a long time, but the pressure's now been taken off him because he's got John Beaker, who is that kind of target man and can link the play. And it allows Van Veen to do what he's good at. You know, get into space, get into areas, like he did against Rangers when he got that goal. It was a tap-in, but it was great played on the right-hand side, a great ball in, and that's where Van Veen wants to be. He now doesn't have to do everything. He doesn't have up man, the target man getting behind. He can now kind of do his own job, and you can see the difference it's made. And I think Van Veen will be delighted got Obika there. And he started to score goals again, Van Veen. And I wouldn't be surprised again if for tomorrow.
Reg Scotland basically came in and basically echoed what you were saying there, Graham, about hopefully the international break has no effect on any of the players in the league at the weekend. We shall see when we come back on Sunday and talk about the games. Right, let's go to the game of the weekend. It is at Rugby Park. I've often wondered why they call it Rugby Park, because they don't play rugby there, but anyway, that's for another show. Kilmarnock against Hearts, Graham. Big game for Hearts, but massive game for Kilmarnock as well. I know you might hate me for saying this, but every game is a prisoner for Kilmarnock, and they want to pick up not only a point, but 3 points. Because a point won't be enough.
Yeah, I am genuinely worried about this game. For me, the form is terrible. We've only won 3 away games in the league all season, and that worries me. And the biggest threat, which I've said in a couple of group chats that I'm in, is the fact that they are very good at set. They've got Crooks, they've got Ash Taylor, they've got Joe Wright, who was a trialist at Hearts and didn't sign. The threat at set pieces. I don't think that I've said this before, and I don't shy away from this. I don't think Kilmarnock are a particularly great side. They're most entertaining side. Again, focusing about Hearts, and I kind of agree with that now. But they do have that threat from set pieces. Danny Armstrong's a very good player. Jordan Jones could cause a threat, but it's that set piece prowess that worries me tomorrow, because we cannot defend set pieces. This is a huge game for both teams. It's a massive game for Hearts, but it is a massive game for Killie, because they are right down there in the mire. The last time the two teams met at Rugby Park, it was a 2-2 draw. Hearts scored through Atkinson. So it's a very difficult game to go. On paper, and I wish the game was played on paper, I'd expect Hearts to win. But because of our away form, after what happened against Aberdeen, I'm not confident. I genuinely am not confident. Again, in the group chat, I've already seen, we've not even played yet, and I've already seen Hearts fans saying Nielsen has to go. I'm not going to buy into that yet. I think I said before that if he finishes 4th, then questions have got to be asked, because we've had a decent run, a decent set of fixtures. If we throw this away and don't finish 4th, then I think questions have to be asked. But Kilmarnock for me tomorrow be dangerous. But I am expecting, maybe wrongly, I'm expecting a reaction from Hearts after Aberdeen, because we can't be any worse.
Well, your manager said today, Cammy Devlin will miss out of the game tomorrow. He said Ronan Shanton and Xanger Clark came back today, but the Australian boys will be back tomorrow. We'll all get together. So focus now turns to the game with Kilmarnock at the weekend. He also says Gareth McInnes and the Kilmarnock team, and that's up with, but we need to be focused at one game at a time. We were disappointed at Aberdeen, but the only way is to put that right is to win the next game, and that's all you can do in football. The players have trained really well this week, but as you know, Graham, that you can train very well on the training park, but none of the supporters are interested in that. As long as you go on a Saturday or Wednesday, whenever you're playing a game, and you win the game.
I was genuinely surprised at how bad we were against Aberdeen. Now, I know the away form wasn't great, and we haven't beaten Aberdeen since 16 at Coventry, but I did not see that performance coming because that was a massive game. I said it days before the game, that was a huge game because if we won that, we'd go into the international break, points ahead of Aberdeen and 8 ahead of Hibs. So that was a huge, huge game. And we fell down after it was an absolute embarrassment. The performance was terrible. Nobody played well. Clark, who has been brilliant, I don't think was great at that. So I'm expecting a reaction tomorrow. But again, managers say things and it's all words. Players say things and it's all words. I've heard players say, we'll put the players as disappointed. Well, do you know what? It doesn't. It's what you do when you go in that park. Now, I will pretty much know in a few minutes if we're up for it tomorrow. If we are aggressive right from kickoff, then I'll know that we're up for it. But if we're not, if we don't really work as hard as Kilmarnock do, then I'll know that whatever's been said the last 2 weeks over the break hasn't, because Lawrence Shanklin came out after the Aberdeen game and was scathing of his teammates, rightly so. Ed was absolutely bang on the money. Nobody played well that day. And if you go to Aberdeen and you don't know what you're up against, you shouldn't be playing, because Aberdeen made that a really hard game. And when you've got guys like Graham Shinney, who's about 50 odd, when you've got guys like Graham Shinney running on the pitch, dominating the game, not good enough. Now, I've said this already, and I'll keep repeating this as well. I've said it in group chats. I don't like the formation we're playing. I don't like the 3 at the back. We get far too exposed at the back. I want to see Robbie tomorrow, and he won't do it because he's stubborn. I want to see him go with 4 at the back. Whether he plays 4-4-2, 4-2-1, I want to see of that 3 at the back. And I think as well, you said there about team news. I'm disappointed that Devon's not going to be fit. That concussion. He's guy we need. He energy, that drive, that desire, which, as much as I like the guy, Robert Snodgrass doesn't do that. He's not got the legs in midfield. And Gilbert Soglu and Robert Snodgrass, who can't run. You need energy. You need legs in there. Cammy Devlin brings that, and that's my worry tomorrow. And again, the other thing I will say as well, and this isn't having a go at Robbie, which may sound like it is, but what I want to do is stop playing Lawrence Shankland so deep. Lawrence Shankland has a 21 goal season, and he's so deep, he's nearly playing centre-back. You've got to play Shankland up front. I said weeks ago when he got, I think it was after the goal against Hibs when it was 21 goals for the season, I think it was, or maybe 20, I can't mind. But I said, I think Shankland will get 30 goals season. Since I said that, he's never been playing so deep. It's embarrassing. You've got to get your main striker playing up front. And I know why he's doing it, because he's playing this formation to get Josh Ginnelly up front to use his pace, which I do get, but then why not play Ginnelly and Shankland up front together? Because you're wasting Shankland's talent. He's a goal scorer. He's a striker, and you're wasting him playing him so deep. So I'm hoping that if Robbie's learned anything, he will ditch the 3 at the back, put Shankland up front. If I see that team use tomorrow, it's 3 at the back and Shankland deeper again, I'll be gutted. And again, I'm going off for a rant here. Again, and I know I've been a massive fan of it as well, but I hope that Barry Mackay's name is not on that team sheet tomorrow, because Barry Mackay's been awful for. He turned up. His attempt at trying to block Shinnie against Aberdeen was an embarrassment. So I wouldn't play. He wouldn't be in my team tomorrow. I'd be playing Alan Forrest. And I know a lot of Hearts fans will laugh at that and go, Alan Forrest is rubbish. It might be, but when he season, he was on fire. He scored a double against. He scored in his league debut against Ross County. He scored 2 against Motherwell. He offers more of a threat for me than Barry Mackay does. And as well, when Alan Forrest has played, I use this term a lot, but square pegs, round holes. When Forrest has played, he's played right wing. He's played right wing back. He's a right wing stroke attacking player. Stop playing players out of position, because it's horrendous. The fans can see it. I've spoken about this numerous times. I did a Twitter chat after Aberdeen. I had 400 folk tuned in for it, and every single thing. If the fans can see it, why can't the management see it?
Reg Scotland agrees with you, Graham. He says, Shankland is a man, front man, no doubt. How concerning is it for your first game back after the international break and you're going to face Kilmarnock on a horrible surface, Graham?
It's a major concern. To be honest, anyone who play just now is a major concern away from home. If the game was at Tynecastle, I might be a bit more confident. But the fact that it's a rugby park, the fact we've already drawn there this season, and the fact, as I mentioned earlier, Kilmarnock's main threat is set pieces and we can't defend them. I am very worried. I put on Twitter a few days ago to my fellow Hearts fans, how are you feeling about tomorrow's game? Pretty much got the same response from everybody. Nervous. Because we all know what's going to happen. We're going to end up losing the game on a set piece, which I've already mentioned earlier. And again, Robbie seems to have, I keep back to Robbie, but Robbie seems to have this thing about dominating possession. Well, that's fine, but if you don't do anything with it, it's pointless. You know, all we're doing is basically passing the ball back, passing the. If you get 60% possession but don't do anything with it, it's pointless. You've got to have a threat going forward, and we just don't have that just now. That's why I want to see Lawrence Shanklin playing up front. Now I know that again. One of the things that you wasn't in your team news there. Maybe you said that and I never heard it, but Peter Haring is back after a very long concussion. Now I'm a massive fan of Peter Haring. I think he's been a very good player for Hearts. If we offer him a new contract, I'd be delighted with that. I think he might be on the bench tomorrow. I don't think he'll play, but I think he's been a massive miss in that midfield because he does have the legs. So we need legs in that midfield. That's why I think we rely a bit too much on Robert Snodgrass, and he can't do it all. He's not got the legs anymore. If you're giving Snodgrass the ball, he's too easy to play against because teams just pile up on him. We need to have a different. See if your whole thing about like we don't have a plan B, we just make plan A better. We'll do it then. And I've not seen enough of that. I've not seen enough of Robbie Nielsen doing that. And I will say, and I might get pelters for this, but I will say as well, I'm a Robbie Nielsen fan. I have been a Robbie Nielsen in for a long, long time, and I still will be. Maybe not if we get fourth, but what I will say is about Robbie Nielsen, I think, and this might rush, and any Hearts fans that are watching this, because I know you are, I think Robbie Nielsen is very limited tactically. I think he'll know how to play one way to change it, and that for me is a worry. He's been a manager for a while now, and he keeps playing the same players out of formation, and he keeps playing players that aren't playing well, like Barry Mackay. Alan Forrest on that bench, I'm thinking, wait a minute, he's offering nothing every game, yet I'm stuck on the bench. Why is that? I just think Robbie Nielsen needs to stop being so loyal to certain players and realise that things aren't working. Because as I keep on saying, fans can see it. Fans, yes, they can be fickle, but the fans can see it. And I guarantee right now, if we lose tomorrow, I'll go on Twitter and it'll be Robbie out. I can guarantee that right now.
Now, I know this could happen to any player, Graham, but you mentioned about Peter Haring ready to come back after 6 months out of the team. But are you concerned if he gets a game? But I think he'll basically come on as a sub. I don't think he'll start the game. If he starts the game, I don't think he'll finish the game. But do you think it's a bit of a risk playing in that surface, knowing that this is his first game back in 6 months?
Yeah, potentially that is a worry. And Haring's injury record's not been great. I mean, this concussion injury seems to last forever. But I am delighted that he's back, and I think he's been a massive miss. But we've missed guys like Benjamin Ingamy, we've missed Liam Boyce, we've missed Craig Gordon, we've missed Craig Halkett. We've missed a lot of big players, and yet we're still sitting third. I'm still positive we'll get third. I have to say that, but I'm still positive we'll get third. I am slightly worried because Hibs and Aberdeen are right on our coattails, and after the split, we don't tend to do well after this. We know we're going to play Celtic Rangers again, so that's points we're not going to get. So I am concerned, but I think we still have a decent enough side. And I have to say, when I looked at the paper the other day and saw that Peter Haring was back training, I was delighted because I've been a massive Peter Haring fan for a long, long time. His injury record does worry me. I don't think he'll start tomorrow. If he's even in the squad, I don't know. I don't think he'll start. But we play St Mirren the week after at Tynecastle, so I think that might be the one that's penciled in for Haring to start. But my worry is that if Haring gets injured again, I think that might be it for him at Hearts, certainly, because he's had a lot of injuries. So that is I can say.
You mentioned about Celtic and Rangers now. If my maths are right, then what they're not, because I was rubbish at school at it, Hearts will go to Ibrox and Celtic will go to Tynecastle in the bottom in the split. But you never know because some teams moan in the past about, I went there for 3 times and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, the opposing manager, Derek McKenna, says on the game, Hearts is a strong team. They've got an agenda to try and get into Europe, and our fight is trying to stay in the league. Our agenda, but from now until the end of the season is to fight and to stay up, and we are determined to win. Graham, I know that the Kerry fans will be saying McKinnon is saying all the right things of the park, but you need to follow that up and getting 3 points on the board, and they're hoping. Well, you'll not be hoping that they would do that tomorrow, but at least to set down a marker.
Yeah, well, the last game before the break, they played St Johnstone and should have won that game. They were excellent, and obviously we spoke about on the show at the time the Andy Considine handball didn't get, which was an absolute joke. So they could have won that game. They did play well. So there has been there's been moments in it rain that they've looked okay. I still don't think they're a great side. I've nothing to say that they could stay up. I still playoff place for the relegation thing. I think Ross County will get out of it. I say Motherwell lucky. I do think Kilmarnock are probably going to be that relegation candidate. But tomorrow, as I said for Hearts, but it's a huge game for Killie. If they get 3 points to the board tomorrow, huge points, and I'm still not convinced that Kilmarnock fans are all in McInnes, and the fact that he got that new deal. I don't know why they gave him that. I said this last week, I think, that should wait until the end of the season. And if you stayed up, give him the new contract. But if they go down, he might not want to stay. So
I still think Kilmarnock
was managing the Championship. I don't think so.
I still think Kilmarnock was a bit hasty, Graham, about offering a deal. It was a 4-year deal as well, so
Yeah, I think they clearly have the utmost respect, and they clearly like McKinnon, the job that he's done. But the fact is, they are looking very much like a relegation team. I say they've had a few decent moments this season, but not enough. I think I keep going back to this. The fact that they let Kyle Lafferty go was a huge thing. I never expected that to happen. They just don't score enough goals. I know they got Christian Doidge in, but he's not exactly set ahead of the light either. They just don't score enough goals. Their top scorers are defenders. So that says it all. When your top scorer is a defender, you wonder what your strikers are doing. I do think Vassell's a good player. I've seen him a few times. He's a good player. He'll cause a threat tomorrow. It would be just typical if Christian Doidge, the high B, scores against us. Probably just jinxed it now. But, their main threat is set pieces. And that's my worry. We can't afford to give away any needless free kicks. It's going to happen, but we can't afford to give away needless free kicks, because if they get a ball in the box, I don't think Kyle Rowells, Stephen Kingsley, Alec Cochrane, Toby Civic are strong to defend them. Ash Taylor, Chris Stokes, Joe Wright, they're big guys, so they're going to have a massive threat, and that's my worry. I don't think, and again I might regret this, I don't think Kilmarnock will open us up. They're not that kind of team. The only one they've got that could really do that is Daniel Armstrong, who I think has been excellent. Again, I think he probably is a bit too good for Kilmarnock. Whether he gets a top 6 team in the next season, I don't know. But they just don't have that threat going forward. So I don't know how this game is going to go tomorrow. I am worried. I am nervous, because it's a game that Hearts have got to win, because I expect Hibs to win tomorrow. I think Aberdeen might win tomorrow, so we have to win. We have to win. But I am worried about Kilmarnock. I am worried about them.
You're listening to and watching Independence Live, Indie Live Radio. This is the Locker Room till 7 o'clock. My name is Michael, and I'm joined by Graham tonight for all of you who can't see us on the radio, lucky you. If you can see us, well, I'm sorry to hear about that. Let's move on to IROX now. Up the M77, yeah, M77, yeah. School done with well, Graham. Rangers against Dundee United. Before we get into the game, Michael Beale says we want to get 3 points tomorrow. We're playing against Jim Goodwin again, but we're looking forward to the game. Now, this is what me and you have been speaking about the last few weeks on the show, Graham. He then goes on to see we've not played well. We've not played for a few weeks, so we're going to be hungry. We need to play better at home. Since I have came in, all the decent performances has been away from home. But we have said that a few times, Graham, that Rangers need to, even though they're playing at home, winning games, but they've not been very convincing. I mean, you saw that against Kamal the other week.
Yeah, I mean, their best performance have come away from home. Beat Hearts comfortably, beat Hibs comfortably, beat Motherwell comfortably before the break. So they have been better away from home. I don't know why that is. You'd expect them to be better at Ajax, but maybe it's the fantations that you. They haven't really done that. You can sense that there's been a frustration around Ibrox with some of the performances. I think tomorrow they'll be looking for an early goal. Just a comfortable 3 points. I think they will get it because United are saying I think they're down, but they'll be looking for a win and 3 points. Well, they're looking for a win and a performance tomorrow because then they've got the massive game against Celtic the week after. So they've got to try and keep on Celtic's coattails because you've got to imagine that Celtic will beat Ross County on Sunday. So it's a huge, huge game. I think they know themselves the title's done. They won't say it publicly, but they'll know the title's done because Celtic just don't lose. So they just got to keep on winning, see what they can do. Maybe these 2 games against Celtic will be a massive thing before the split and after the split. But I just think tomorrow is a game that Rangers have to win and win comfortably. I don't think the fans will accept a slack 1-0 win. I think they want to see a performance and some goals as well. And I think they will get it. But, United are frustrating because at times they have looked very good. Before the split, they played St Mirren and played very well up until they got that penalty that was never a penalty from Curtis Main. So they have looked okay. And again, I have to say Stephen Fletcher has been brilliant for them. He's been an absolutely brilliant signing. If United stay up, he's going to have a main part in that. I think he could cause problems tomorrow, Connor Golson and stuff. His physical presence and his quality. But I just think the Rangers are going to be too strong. It'll be interesting to see if Morelos plays tomorrow. I think he probably will. But Rangers' best player recently, I think I said this last week, has been Sakala. I think Sakala's been outstanding. So I think tomorrow he will have a massive say on this game. But if I'm a Rangers fan tomorrow, yes, but I want a performance. I want to see something after this break.
You mentioned about Morelos there, the Scottish Sun reported today that it is down to 2 clubs. Graham, what's your take on this? Seville or our pals, our pal used to be on the show, Matthew, his team, Aston Villa.
Well, when you said 2 clubs, I wonder, is golf courses in Andrews, is it Glen Eagles? I don't know how he would do in the Premiership in England. I think he would get riled up. You know what Morelos is like? He gets riled up in Scotland. Imagine defenders that are much more physical. Imagine defenders that are much more mobile. I think Morelos could struggle. I think Spain might suit him better because it's more technical. He doesn't have to do a lot running about. So maybe that might suit him better. I think if he goes to the Premiership, I think he will struggle. I genuinely do because defenders there. I know a lot of folk talk about the Premiership and say it's not a great league. As a Liverpool fan, this season it's not. But I think the Premiership is a very good league and there's a lot of top class defenders there. I would love, actually, would I? No, I think I would. I would love to see him coming up against Van Dijk at Liverpool because I think Van Dijk would just terrorise him. I really do. I
thought you were going to go into your Kevin Keegan. I would love it.
I'll know at that stage, yeah, but maybe later. But yeah, I think he would do better in Spain, where it's not quite as fast a league. I don't think he would handle it in the Premiership. That's just my honest opinion. I don't think he would handle it
there. But yeah, Spain's usually a bad word in football, Karen. But this week, people in Scotland love that word, Spain. Did you know we beat them 2-0 the other night? If not, go and watch the show, because we had over about we had a lot of people watching the show on Tuesday night. So if you not saw that back, watch it back. It was a brilliant show. And I think I mentioned Scotland winning against Spain 2-0 maybe about 5 times on the show, and that was just in the first 10 minutes.
It never gets boring, though. You can never say that enough. Just that word, Scotland 2, Spain 0. It's just brilliant. How could you not love that?
And you hear Grahamson, and we're coming down the road. It was a brilliant show. Go and watch that with a wee cup of tea after the show, right? And after tonight's show, right? After tonight's show, and then you can
actually
do what you want.
I wonder what Roger would make of Morelos coming to Spain, given the fact that he's not very happy about Scottish football.
Yeah, well, Matt's making heaven there, I think. Dundee United, Graham. I would expect a bit like Kamal. I don't know about you, but when you see teams coming up, you're expecting a bit more of them, because we've saw in previous seasons that they've been doing well. But for some reason, it's just not worked out for them at all. And I think if you were a Dundee United fan, you would want the season to finish tomorrow.
It's been a very strange season. You know, they lost Tam Courts, they then lose Jack Ross, they get beaten 0 by Celtic, they then bring in Liam Fox. It's been a very up and down season. And yeah, you're right. I think United want the season to end. They probably are going to end back in the Championship. Whether they've got Dundee Derby in there, we don't know. But they've had a very difficult season. The thing is, they do have good players there. Stephen Fletcher's a good player. Dylan Levitt's a good player. Glenn Middleton's a good player. But the one thing they don't have is a decent goalkeeper and decent centre-backs. Ryan Edwards is the captain of that team, and he's been dreadful recently. Mark Birighetti's been really poor in goals. So they've not recruited as well as they could have done. I think Liam Fox has done the best he can, but I do think they will be in massive trouble this season. But it wasn't that long ago that we were on the show talking about a magnificent night at Tannadice against AZ Alkmaar, and thinking, you know, what a brilliant night for United, what a brilliant occasion. And then they go and get beat 7-0 the week after, and you know, where did that come from? So it's just been one of these seasons that not a lot's gone right for them. You know, they've okay in the cup. I know they beat Stirling University, but it wasn't a great performance. But they've had a lot of difficulty. Like, quite bizarrely, I noticed this earlier on, that Jack Ross has now got a job at Newcastle United.
Oof.
He's apparently now working with the youth development at Newcastle United. I saw that earlier on. I don't know how that guy keeps getting jobs. I really don't, because every job he does, he's awful at. So I don't know how he keeps getting jobs. And to go to Newcastle is baffling. Genuinely baffling what they're seeing in him.
Well, I know that if he doesn't keep his job, Graham, there's BBC Newcastle, so he might be going there, and along with Ant and Jack Dick. I'm not actually sure. Team news for Rangers then. Only 2 out of the team for Rangers. Miko Raskin and Leon King are still out of the team for that one. Tomorrow, Rangers against United at Ibrox. St Johnstone against Aberdeen. Before we get to speak about St Johnstone, they have been news, and I don't know if you saw this news actually today, Graham, that obviously it was broke yesterday that Barry Ferguson would be named as manager at the end of the season. That's the worst kept secret. That's the worst kept secret in Scottish football. But Liam Fox, remember him? He's back at Aberdeen as a coach.
What am I talking about? I was saying Jim Goodwin's the manager tonight, not Liam Fox. Yeah, again, obviously he's got a decent relationship with Barry Robson. And yeah, it wasn't a massive surprise. I think giving him till the end of the season is not a bad idea. I think they will obviously review it after the season finishes. If he's done well enough, and he has done well so far, but if he finishes top 3, top 4, hopefully not top 3 because that's Hart's job, but if he finishes even 4th, I think they'll be happy with that. I think Dave Cormack will be happy with that, and then they'll review it at the end of the season and say, right, do we give him the job long term? I don't think they were ever going to bring anyone else in with a few weeks to go before the end of the season. They were never going to do that. I know there was talk about they had maybe folk they were interviewing, but Barry Robson put himself in the frame for that, so it probably is a good decision. And a bit like the mother Stuart Kettlewell, he's done a good job as an interim so far. So it probably does make sense, and Aberdeen fans seem to be happy about it. If he goes there tomorrow and wins against St Johnstone, and Aberdeen's away record is not great, but if he goes to St Johnstone and picks up 3 points, it's a massive fan. So fair play to Barry Robson. He's done a very good job. I said at the time they were excellent against Hearts, home hand against Hearts. But he's getting the best out of that squad. This is what I said earlier on. How could Jim Goodwin not get the best out of that squad? How could Stephen Glass not get the best out of that squad? They've got a very, very good squad at Aberdeen. So it's taken Barry Robson to come in, and I don't even think he's changed that much. He's just got to play with more energy, more desire, which you should have anyway. But they look a much better side. They look. This is bizarre to say, but they look coached, which is a strange thing to say given the fact they've had other managers there. But they do look better coached, and it looks to me like the players are now happy with the manager as opposed to what they were before, because they clearly didn't like Jim Goodwin. You saw after the Hearts game, the Hibs game, the Darvel game, they weren't trying to live for him. Clearly, they weren't trying to live for him. So, fair play. He's done a good job. Him and Liam Fox could be the dream team. You never know.
Now, I've got to apologise, Graham, right? But if Aberdeen makes the top 6, and okay, it's been out with that, it'll be a bit of a disappointing season for all the Aberdeen fans. But if they make the top 6 and Dave Cormack doesn't give them the job, do you think there'll be a lot of people unhappy about that?
I think if you go on Twitter, Aberdeen fans at the moment are happy with what Dave Cormack's done. And I said probably months ago he had to get this next appointment right because other two have failed. Stephen Glass came in and it failed. Jim Goodwin came in and it failed. He couldn't afford to. Now you might think, oh, he's kind of gone a bit safe and gone for Barry Robson. It's a good appointment because clearly he's getting the best out of that squad. And I think if he doesn't get the job, they'll easily finish top 6. But if they finish 3rd or 4th and he doesn't get the job, I think Aberdeen fans will be gutted because I think he deserves that chance. Again, maybe Aberdeen have got somebody else lined up. I'm sure he would have spoken to Barry Robson and said, look, the job's yours to the end of the season. After the season's done, we'll review it. But we've maybe got somebody else lined up. Maybe they couldn't get before, maybe in our job. And I'm sure Barry Robson said, well, that's fine. I'll take the team just now. But if things change, if they're going to run next few games and win all their games and get 3rd, I don't see any way that Barry Robson doesn't get the job.
And what about St Johnstone, Graham? I mean, obviously it was only basically 2 seasons ago and I always keep going on about it. They won the double and with the Scottish Cup and the League Cup, wasn't it, that season as well? And I mean, if you look at the league table now, Graham, I mean, you know that they're lying 8th from the table, so it's not really bad going for Callum Davison.
I mean, they've done it. After tomorrow, they've got Ross County at home, Livingston away, and the Hibs at home. Difficult fixtures before the split. But again, Davison's done a decent job. And I said this before as well. I think you have to give massive kudos to Jeff Brown because he could have easily sacked Davison when fans were unhappy at the way things were going, understandably, because they weren't doing well. But I think you've got to bear in mind that St Johnstone are a small club. Let's be honest, they're a small club. So for them to have won 2 cup football, it was always going to be hard to maintain that. But I think it's done a very good job. And they are probably not going to finish top 6. But again, if they can finish best of the rest, then I think Jeff Brown will be happy with that. But I think it's massive kudos to Callum Davison because he has signed well. We spoke about Nicky Clark. He signed well. has been brilliant. They've signed well at the back with Andy Considine, the basketball player. So they have done a very good job. He has done a very good job. And if they win tomorrow, it would be a huge 3 points. And there's no reason they can't. They're at home. They're okay at home. They beat Rangers not long ago at home, so they've got a decent record at home. But Aberdeen will be up for this. Aberdeen are now chasing Hearts and the Hibs. This will be a very difficult game tomorrow. But if I was going to call, and I hate saying this because I don't want them to catch us up, but Aberdeen might just sneak it because they've got a guy in red hot from Duke who has been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I will be, sorry Aberdeen fans, I'll be very surprised if Duke is there next season because I think he'll be gone somewhere else. Probably won't stay in Scotland. I think he'll go abroad because he's been absolutely outstanding for Aberdeen.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, I mean, what a season and what a turnaround Aberdeen has had. And as for St Johnstone, I know that we say it every season, Graham, and we might carry on saying this again. But are you surprised that Callum Davison, is still at St Johnstone?
Possibly. I genuinely thought he would have been gone not that long ago because of the situation they were in. Fighting relegation, they weren't playing that well. But then I just keep going back to the fact that do you really sack a guy who's won 2 cups, got European football? It's very, very harsh. But that's football for you. These things happen very quickly. 1 minute you can be on a massive high, the next you're on a massive low. I think Davison is a bit like David Martindale. I think Davison is very underrated. I think he's done a great job. St Johnstone are a family club. They don't have the biggest budget. They don't have, well, I keep saying this a lot, but they don't have a massive fan base, which is a shame because McDermott Park's a nice wee ground. So they have to do what they can. And I just think when they had those European games, to see the size of the crowd at those European games at McDermott Park, where is they all gone? They've got a really great ground there. I love going to Derby. I've not been for a while, but they've got a great ground there. They should have a bigger fan base, but you're probably seeing folk like Livingston. You're seeing supporters buses leaving to go to Celtic Park or Ibrox, and that's a shame because Perth is a really nice area, and I think it's a shame that they don't get the crowd that they probably should have, especially if you're not going to get crowds at Derby Park after winning 2 cups. When are you going to get crowds back? So I think Davidson's done a very, very good job, but I think he probably flies on the radar. And as well, when you hear him get interviewed on Sky or on BBC, he's a likeable guy. He's a very humble guy. He speaks honestly. He speaks the truth. He never hides anything. And I think he's a very, very good manager. He's very underrated, I think. And the job he's done at St Johnstone is fantastic.
Would you kind of put him in front of Tommy Wright a wee bit in terms of the best manager St Johnstone had? Now, I know Tommy Wright won the Scottish Cup, and I think that was the first cup in a few years, or maybe the first cup in the history. But I'm just putting Callum Davidson first because he won the double last season.
Yeah, I think you have to put him right up there. To win 2 cups for a small team like St Johnstone is magnificent. Tommy Wright was a legend at St Johnstone. We know that. I know that the thing about Tommy Wright was, and a lot of folk have said this, he didn't play the most attractive football, but you know what? He won games. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I think Davidson's tried to change the philosophy and the way they play. He's trying to make it a bit more exciting, and I think at times he has done that. Nicky Clark's been a massive part of that. So, I think Graham Carey's been a good player as well for them, as folk were called Graham usually are, nice folk. But he's done a very good job, and I think he probably is right up there with Tommy Wright, if not in front of him, just for the job that he's done winning 2 cups. Because I just keep saying, for a team like St Johnstone to win 2 cups is a magnificent achievement. I don't think it'll be done again. I don't think you'll see, I hope not, but I don't think you'll see Hearts winning 2 cups in a season, Hibs winning 2 cups in a season, Motherwell winning 2 cups in a season, because Rangers and Celtic now are thinking, we can't have that again. So I think the job that he's done is unbelievable. I really do, and he has to be Tommy Wright, 100%.
There's our pal on. He must have got the memo to say, come on in, because we're going to speak about St Mirren now. And a good evening. Hopefully you're well, and thanks for watching on YouTube. And yes, we are going to speak about your team now, the Saints. tomorrow, and you can let us know what you feel about the game. So that's St Johnstone against Aberdeen. Let's move. Yeah, your timing was brilliant, by the way. I don't know why you got my number. I got a weird number coming up on my phone there, but thanks for texting me as well. But yeah, I did give you a big tip over about we're going to be speaking about the St Mirren game. That's so St Mirren against Livingston, only about 10 minutes along the motorway from me, Graham. Tomorrow, St Mirren is up against Livingston. Let's check in with David Martindale, what he said before the game. He said we've got an outside chance, but we just look at one game at a time. So tomorrow will be an opportunity to pick 3 points up, but it's going to be a very difficult an away game. They have got the best defensive record in the apart from the big two in the league. Graham, this looks like a decent game because Livingston is a good team no matter where they play, home and away, and St Mirren is got a decent a home record this season. Am I right in saying that the only team that went there this season so far, might be wrong, is Hibs and Celtic, and they pick up 3 points. So, yeah, a good game tomorrow.
Yeah, it should be. I think St Mirren, as I said, have had a very good season so far. I've been impressed with the job that Robertson's done, especially at home. I've been impressed with a lot of the players as well. You know, I said this a few weeks ago. Curtis Main's been very good. I think Alec Greaves brought a kind of different dimension to them. You obviously know Mark O'Hara. He's a good player. I think Bacchus is good. Kelly's a decent player. And actually, I watched him against Scotland last week. I thought Alec Gogic actually played well against Scotland last week. So again, he's an enforcer in there. So St Mirren have got a very good squad, and tomorrow's a very difficult game. You know, there's not much two teams in terms of the top six. It's a huge game. You know, St Mirren got to Tynecastle the week after. They're getting nothing there. Sorry, Azalino. But yeah, they've got massive games to come up. But I do think tomorrow's a big game. Livingston will be a massive threat. We keep saying this a lot. I keep talking about the fact that Martindale's underrated. I talk about Joel Newbley, who's going to be a huge threat tomorrow. But I think St Mirren can handle him, and they've got quality going forward now. I think it's such a tough game to call. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw. But then I think St Mirren just have something else about them this season. They look a really good unit. I think the one person they do miss, I think, is the guy that was up front, Ayunga. He is a very good player as well. He's a physical presence. So St Mirren have got a very good side there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go there tomorrow and win. Livingston at home recently have not been overly impressed and lost a few games there. So it's a really tough game to call. But as we will be delighted with this, but I'm actually tipping St Mirren to win this. I think they might just sneak this by maybe 2-1.
Oh, Graham's put his neck on the line there. Yes. So what's if you get abuse on Sunday, Graham? Sorry, I'm not helping you with that one, mate. You're on your own. And I'll hold the jacket, right? And I'll run away. But yeah, I mean, we mentioned about managers early on in the show. Stephen Robertson has done a brilliant job since he's come into St Mirren, and I know that they went to Celtic Park in the Cup, and I know Celtic won 4-1 at the end of it, but it took Celtic till 74 minutes to score the other goal. So, and it was a tight. Well, it was like the game was a bit tight up until that point. So Stephen Robertson's done a decent job with the budget that he's got at St Mirren. And I mean, you saw it with Murrow as well when he was a manager there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they've done a very good job. I think at the start of the season there were question marks over Robinson because they had a very poor League Cup run. They weren't great in that. And I think a lot of St Mirren fans were very questioning, but he's done a very good job. As I say, the signings that he made have been very impressive. But as Lino says, question marks over Bacchus and Strain because of Australia trip. St Mirren definitely weakened, but we'll see. Not super confident in all honesty. have faith, Azalino. I have faith. I have the power. Yeah, I think it's a difficult game. I think St Mirren have done a job so far. It wasn't that long ago that Tony Fitzpatrick talked about St Mirren being a top 6 side, and everyone was like, what are you talking about? And now they very well could be. They very well could be a top 6 side. And if they get top 6, what a massive achievement that would be. Absolutely fantastic. And there's every reason to think they can. If they beat Livingston, which will be a hard game, although Livingston's not won at home since the 4th of February. So, again, they've not had a great run at home, but they have in that run played Rangers and they played Hibs. They drew with United before the break, so they've not had a great run at home. Martindale looking to put that right. So it's a really difficult game, but I just think that St Mirren have got something about them. As I say, I think Curtis May's been excellent, and Alec Grieve, he's a very good player. Probably, again, underrated. I think he's done a very good job for St Mirren, so it's a really hard game tomorrow, but I just have that sneaky feeling that St Mirren might just sneak this tomorrow.
Just to confirm that, the game's at St Mirren Park, Graham, I don't want millions of St Mirren fans to go to Livingston, and the game's not there. So that's the game at St Mirren tomorrow against Livingston. Now, Graham, in the previous life, I used to do a training course at the old St Mirren Park, Rough Street. Used to love that ground. And the best part of the training course, right, was obviously playing football with the boys, but the best part of it was getting a lunch, because I can't remember the women's name, but like every time when it was 1 o'clock, you was like, yes, time for something to eat. And I was healthy, don't get me wrong. I don't know why I ain't getting up this size, but anyway, that's for another show. But brilliant cooking as well. So yeah, maybe try and get her on the show next week. By the way, I'm on the keg and all. So that is St Mirren against Livingston as well. I wanted to get your comments just quickly before we move on about Martindale. Right, he keeps mentioning in his press conference about, I mean, he's a very honest guy, and he was mentioning about a few players going in the summer. But he says, I'm helping the players develop and moving to bigger clubs, because he did say at his press conference that he is texting other clubs to try and get Livingston players basically away to a bigger club and more money. Now, if I was a Livingston fan and you were a Livingston fan, would you not be a bit disappointed, even though he's been honest, but would you not be a bit disappointed for him to say that?
Yeah, a little bit. Like you said, he's very honest. He never hides anything. He never shirks anything. So he has spoken very honestly. I think one of the players was Nicky Devlin. I wouldn't be surprised if I think he was at Aberdeen. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to Aberdeen, actually. And as I've mentioned earlier on, I have a few sources that think that Joe Newbley will be a Hearts player next season. I hope that's true. So, yeah, you probably would be disappointed. But, I mean, let's be honest. Livingston are, again, a bit like St Johnstone. They are a small club. So I'm not surprised that he is looking to maybe get his best players out to another club and get money in, because Livingston probably need the money. And he maybe knows that he can get more money for these guys. I know that Newbley signed a new deal not long ago. Good money for him. So that might be our chance that he can maybe strengthen the transfer market. But yeah, I think if I was a fan, I'd be disappointed that he's coming out publicly and talking about the fact that he's trying to get players to go out. And if you're a player as well, what do you think about that as well? If you're Nicky Devlin, are you wanting to go? Are you wanting to leave Livingston? Because he's done a very good job at Livingston. They are a good club. They're a good run family club. They're a very good club. They're established.
Do you think that?
To be a top 6 club.
Yeah, sorry. I was just about to say that. Do you think that if David Martindale was at a club like Hearts and like Hibs, or a bigger club, sorry to Livingston fans, but if he's coming out and saying that, would you be a bit disappointed with your manager coming out and say that? Because he definitely knows, coming out with statements like that Livingston is a small club. I mean, look at the fan base, and they need the money. But, do you think he's too honest?
I don't think there's a problem with that. You can probably be a bit too honest, but I love the fact that he wears his heart on his sleeve and he doesn't shy away from anything. You look at what he did against Stenhousemuir in that cup game when they were 1-0 down. and he went mental at the players. And I kind of like that because it shows a passion that he's got and that aggression in him, unlike the aggression that Rangers boy showed. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like the fact that he is honest and he will be open. And I'm sure he's had these discussions with the players behind closed doors. Maybe he has spoke to Nicky Devlin and said, look, I think maybe he's even said, you're probably better than Livingston, and I think you deserve a bigger move. Maybe he's had that discussion with him and said, I'm going to say it publicly as well, that I think it might be a good thing for you to move on. I'm trying to find you a club. There'll be plenty of clubs that will take Nicky Devlin. He's a good player. And I know that, I don't know who else they mentioned, but they do have good players at Livingston. You know, Jason Holt was at Hearts, a really good player. Scott Robinson was at Hearts. They've got a very, very good side there. And I do like the fact that David Martindale, he is just honest. You know, he never hides behind anything. He doesn't, if he thinks something, he'll just say it. And I kind of like that. But I do get a fan, you'd be thinking, well, why are you coming out and saying that? You know, keep that behind closed doors. If you're on your players that's fine. But maybe don't come out and say it publicly. So I do get both sides of the argument, but I just love the fact that David Martindale's honest. I love his honesty, and I've heard him a few times get interviewed, and he does come across as somebody that is, he knows himself. He's made mistakes in his past. You know, he knows that himself, and he's trying to make up for that, and he has done that. And what he's done at Livingston is, I think it's remarkable. Again, like St Mirren, like St Johnstone, like Motherwell, they're on shoestring budgets. You know, let's be honest, there's not a, you mentioned it there, there's not, when you look at, like, if that game is at Livingston tomorrow, it's not, Stadium tomorrow, it's probably going to be half empty. And that's not a great look. And that's a shame for me. Livingston have got a great wee ground there. Easy to get to. You can go shopping if you're bored. I think Livingston have done a great job there. And I think David Martindale, I keep saying this about Davis and I'll say it again about Martindale, he's very underrated as a manager. Now again, actually, I think it was earlier on this afternoon, I was on Twitter and some Hearts fans were discussing that if Robin Nielsen was to go, would you take David Martindale? Some folk were yes, some folk were no. I don't know how I feel about that. I genuinely don't. I don't think David Martindale has managed at a big club before, so I'm not sure how he would do. But the one thing I do know is he'd get the most out of that Hearts squad. So maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing. But then again, if and when Robbie does go, I'd like us to aim slightly higher. I don't know who, but I'd like us to aim slightly higher than David Martindale. But I do like Martindale as a great coach.
But one thing I do know is, Graham, if he does get the Hearts job, and I'm saying does, it'll be easy to get to just along the motorway from Livingston and as well.
My only worry is if he gets the Hearts job, will he try and make the pitch plastic? That's my only worry.
You were saying as well, Graham, about the we speak about it on the show every week now. It should really become a feature on the show about Livingston's fan base. But you saw the other week against Livingston and Ross County, Graham, and nobody was there. What I would do, right, is I would put the cameras on the opposite stand, and so that you get to see the main stand, and the main stand's basically full of Livingston fans. And whereas when the cameras are on the main stand, you're just seeing mounds of yellow seats, apart from when Hearts have Celtic and Rangers goes there.
I don't like the fact that, and I'll say this about Hearts as well, but don't get me wrong, it's great. But I don't like that a away base should outnumber the home fan base. That shouldn't happen for me.
Yeah.
You should always have more home fans than away fans. So I think it's not a great look for me. I think that's wrong. And you know, you do look at Livingston's. This is the thing that annoys me as well, is Livingston, Johnstone, Motherwell, St Mirren, for example. Sorry, Asleen, if you're watching this, but these fan bases are not massive. Yet, if they get to a final, they'll want 15 to 20,000 tickets. Well, where do you use normally? Where do you use normally for a normal home game? Why are you not turning up for the home games? I know that that's not the same for St Mirren because they do get a decent fan base. But Livingston and that, for example, were in the Cup final 2014, I think, in the League Cup against Hibs.
Mm-hmm.
Where did all these fans come from? Where did all these fans come from that don't go normally? Like I said about St Johnstone. Where are these fans coming from that want loads of tickets for a Cup final, but yet don't turn out for a run-of-the-mill league game? That for me is something that I don't know what these teams can do differently to entice fans in. And I know that Martindale spoke about this numerous times, trying to entice more fans in, because what he's seeing is fans from Livingston getting supporters buses to Ibrox and Parkhead. There must be some kind of way that they can try and entice these guys to come to Livingston. Because it's not a great look. I keep saying this all the time, but when you watch the TV and you watch, like, I'm just going to pick on them, sorry, but you watch like Livingston against Motherwell, and there's like 2 fans and a dog. There's nobody there. You're looking at it as an outsider. You're looking at it as an outsider thinking, well, where's the fans? You know, it's like being back in COVID again, where you could have no fans. It's like, is it COVID again? What's happened here? Because there's no fans there. I think you've got to do something to entice the fans.
Well, to be honest with you, the marking the joke is as well. Hopefully, there's not Livingston fans there. But when you say that, when you're going back to football during lockdown, and you only had so many fans in, space them out, Livingston could have a full house there, because they don't really get a lot of supporters there. But anyway, sorry about that. Moving on to the last game then. Of the weekend, we've got to wait until Sunday at 2 o'clock to see this game. Ross County and Celtic. Basically, Graham, it's bottom versus top.
I think this will be a comfortable Celtic victory, I'll be honest. Sorry to Ross County fans that are watching this. I know we've got one of the guys on our group chat who's a Ross County fan, who might be joining us on Sunday after the game, actually. But I just think Celtic are far too strong. To be fair, again, I do think Malky Mackay's done a good job for Ross County. I think they have strengthened well. Eamon Brophy's been a good signing. We spoke about Simon Murray being a good signing. Jordan White started to score goals now, so they are a threat. But I do just feel that Celtic squad is just far, far too strong. I mean, again, I don't know what kind of side Postecoglou could put out tomorrow, but they could easily do like a Spain. They could make 8 changes and make any difference. They're just far too strong. Now, I know that Postecoglou won't do this because he's not the kind of guy that does this. I know that. But he won't look ahead to the game next week. I know that Rangers and Celtic fans might think we've got the big game next week, but you've got to win the game that you've got now and then think about the game next week. So I think that Celtic squad, we keep talking about it, is so, so strong. They've just got so much quality throughout the whole team. And I keep saying this, but you look at the Celtic bench, they could easily have like Haksabanovic, Turnbull on the bench tomorrow, bring them on, and they'll make a massive difference. So that's not just a worry for Ross County, that's a worry for every team in Scotland. That Celtic's squad is just far strong. I know that Celtic have gone to County before the season and they've won, but County made it difficult. They could make it difficult tomorrow, but I just think that Celtic squad, all through the squad, is just too strong. And you're bringing Callum McGregor back, who was like standing for Scotland the other day. He'll be flying. And again, I know we're talking about Ross County Celtic, you will get on to County Minute, but I honestly think that Callum McGregor is probably making, and I don't know if any Celtic fans are watching this, but I think Callum McGregor is now one of the greats. So that might sound very bizarre, but I think Callum McGregor has been outstanding. His performances never seem to drop below an 8. He's always constantly playing well. I went back to the Scotland game a minute ago. Look at what he did in the last minute against Spain. He's getting forward, trying to create a goal. That's your captain doing that. Celtic captain, the energy that he's got. He's a brilliant, brilliant player. And I think if you're at Celtic, if you're a young laddie at Celtic, a midfielder, for example, looking up to McGregor, thinking that's who I want to be like, I think McGregor's been outstanding. And the job that he's done, because again, when Scott Brown left, there was a lot of folk talking about who's going to get captaincy. Is McGregor good enough for that? I think he's more than proved that he's good enough. McGregor's been outstanding and probably one of the first names on that Celtic team sheet.
You mentioned about the last time they were up there. Anthony Ralston is out of the team tomorrow. I know because got Rig Scotland came back in and said Dingwall has been a happy hunting ground for under Angie. A few injuries for the Celtic squad. Not sure who is in the Scarkin lineup. Yeah, so the team new for Celtic is Anthony Ralston is out, James Forrest goes out, and Leo Obada is out of the game as well. Rio Atati and Alan Boy is back in training, but Postecoglou said to get it might be soon. It might be a bit too soon for them to get game time this weekend. it might actually save them till next weekend as well, because as you saw the last couple of weeks, David Turnbull came on off the bench and they scored a few goals. A decent player, Graham, but he's not really had a bit of a look-in. But every time he comes in, he always puts the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, you kind of think that Turnbull might decide that he wants to leave Celtic, but then again, who really wants to leave Celtic? Well, Giakoumakis did, but he's not been a massive miss. But David Turnbull's one of these guys that can turn a game quite easily. And again, he's one of these guys that when you bring him off the bench, no matter if it's 2-0, 3-0, whatever, you know he's going to be a threat. And the thing I like about David Turnbull is he's not afraid to shoot. You get some players that want to hold the ball in it, but David Turnbull, if he gets a chance, just shoots. And I quite like that. He's a very, very good footballer. And again, everybody at Celtic, it's very hard to break into the Celtic team. You look at like Haksabanovic, he's been on the bench for a while, but again, when he comes on, he scores and makes a difference. The one player that I feel sorry for, and as a Hearts fan, I never thought I'd say this, but the one player I'm sorry for is Abada. I think Abada's a real talent, but again, it's very hard to break into that Celtic side because you've got guys like Jota, you've got Maeda, you've got Kyogo, who are very, very good. But you've got a guy like Abada who whenever he plays, he's quick, he's direct, he's skillful, he's got goals in his game. He's just a really good player, and it's hard to break into that Celtic team. Again, I could probably enthuse about the whole Celtic team, and I hate doing that as a Hearts fan. But again, another player that I've been impressed with is Aaron Moy. I think Aaron Moy's been brilliant for Celtic. Again, when he came in, I thought, was saying, is he going to be good enough for Celtic? Has he got the legs? Aaron Moy's been a standout recently, an absolute standout recently. You know, he can break forward and let McGregor sit, or McGregor can go forward and Moy can sit. He covers the whole area of the pitch. That Celtic squad is unbelievable. It really is. And you have to say that Ange Postecoglou is building a very, very good side there. And again, they're only going to get stronger. Sorry, they said, I think they win the league. I think they win the Scottish Cup. They win the treble. I think next season, you've mentioned this, I think, on the show, next season it's about being better in Europe, because they weren't great in Europe this season, let's be honest. But I would caveat with the fact that when they did play those European games against Leipzig and against Real Madrid, they played well in all those games. They just weren't clinical. They just weren't clinical enough.
Yep.
You know, they matched Madrid at Parkhead for a long, long time in that game. After half the game, so you've got to be clinical in these kind of games. You can't, if you play Hearts double, chances because you'll end up scoring anyway. Against big teams, you can't do that. You've got to against big teams, so that probably will be the one thing that Postecoglou wants to do next season is be a bit better in Europe. But in terms of the league, he's pretty much got that spot on. He's not had a failure in that team.
Postecoglou says it's always a tough game up there. Malky always sets his team up well, but we're looking forward to the game, and hopefully we will come back down with 3 points. Graham, Malcolm Mackay, when they went up to County, done a decent job last season, but he found it very difficult this season.
He has. They've not been very consistent, but again, it's very hard. If you're not Celtic or Rangers, it's very hard to be consistent. He's not had the easiest of runs. He's not had a lot of help with injuries. I did worry when they lost Joseph Hungo and Reagan Charles Cook, how they'd replace them. But I do think bringing in Duffy has been a really good signing. He's been excellent. He could cause Celtic problems tomorrow. But again, I think Carter Bricken has been excellent for Celtic as well defensively. So I do think County have had a decent season. I don't think they'll go down. I do think they will be okay. I've already said I think United will go down, and I think Kilmarnock will be in the playoff place. I think County will be fine, but they've got to build on that next season because they don't want to be down there again. But tomorrow, they're not going to be judged on games against Celtic. Let's be honest. Tomorrow's a kind of a free hit, I would say. If they get even a point, that'll be a huge result for them. I just think with the way that Celtic are playing just now, and again, I said earlier on the show, you don't know how teams are going to do just after a break, how much they're going to be up for it, how much the legs are going to be, ready for it. So it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one, but I do think that Celtic's quality will be for that Ross County side, and I probably think it might be about 3 or 4-0, to be honest.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you think that the team who Angie will put out on Sunday will have at the back of their minds that we need to play well and I need to put in a decent performance because the next game is a Glasgow derby next Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, as a player, you want to play in the big games, and you can't really get bigger games than the Glasgow Derby. They'll want to be involved in that. So everyone that plays tomorrow will be up for it, knowing that I want to be in that starting 11 next week. You can probably, and any Celtic fans watching this can say, you can probably already guess the Celtic team for next week. I don't think it'll change that much, but it will be interesting because, again, I think the one thing that Postecoglou will want tomorrow, he'll want to win, he'll want a clean sheet, he'll want a good performance, but he will also want no injuries. If he gets all that, he'll be delighted because going into that massive game against Rangers next week, which, let's be honest, could be a title decider. You know, Celtic win next week, it's pretty much done. I think it's done already. But that's going to be a huge game. That's going to be a huge game next week. A game that Rangers need to win. A game that Celtic don't necessarily have to win. But tomorrow's all about winning the game and just making sure that you get no injuries. And again, a big threat tomorrow will be Kyogo. I say this a lot on the show. I think Kyogo's movement is so impressive. He's always on the shoulder last defender. He never stops, as Postecoglou would say. He never stops. And actually, that's a good point that Red Scotland made. Celtic want Hatate fit for the derby. I completely forgot about him. Hatate's been an absolute standout this season for Celtic. He's added goals to his game. He's creative. He's really good on the ball. He's composed on the ball. He's a huge miss. He's not playing for Celtic. Him and McGregor have got a great partnership in that midfield, along with Aaron Moy. So yeah, having Hatate fit would be huge. And he's already caused Rangers damage in these games. So they'll be looking for him to be fit for next week.
Yeah, so that's the football done and dusted, back up and running tomorrow and tonight. Actually, the first game back. A couple minutes left going off the show. Thanks for all your comments. Keep them coming in. Like comments on YouTube and Facebook as well. Six Nations, Graham. The Six Nations never got off to a very good start for Scotland last week. England beat us 58-7, and incidentally Wales beat Ireland 31-5, and Italy got beat 12-22 by France. Tomorrow the games are Ireland against France, and the big one that we are interested in, Graham, is Scotland against Wales.
Yeah, it's at the Dam Health Stadium in Edinburgh, which I think is next to Murrayfield. It's a 5:30 kickoff. I think it's live on TV, actually. And surprisingly, there's an unchanged side and bench after that hammering by England, to be honest. I thought they might have made a few changes, but they've not. So Brian Easton, the head coach, said we did some green shoots and development. The players that put their hands up, not only starters, but the energy the bench brought, it made it an easy decision for us. Chloe Rowley claimed a consolation try for Scotland, who have not won a match against England since 2022. So it's a massive game tomorrow. Scotland are without Sarah Bonner, Jade Comer-Roberts, and Emma Wassell, but it's a huge game for Scotland. They have to get the Six Nations back on track. I'm a better chance with a win against Wales, but that was a huge. I didn't expect them to beat England, to be honest, because England are very, very strong. But it was a bit of a letdown, the fact that they were so handsomely beat. But do you know what? The one positive I would take is the fact that they scored a try. Because if that had been 50-0, that would have been gone. So the fact that they were able to get a try would give them the fact they were able to get a try would bring them a little bit of confidence. And they've got to take that into tomorrow because it's going to be a good game. But as I say, what better chance to get your Six Nations back on track than beating Wales?
Thanks for watching Reg Scotland. This is a brilliant show, so come back on Sunday and for some more locker room between 3 and 5. Just before we finish, Graham, don't know if you saw this news about Andy Murray. It says Andy Murray and Cameron Norrie are almost 10 British players to get named in the lineup for this year championship at Queen's Club. Of course, the Queen's Club is the highlight of the warm-up tournament before Wimbledon, and that will run between the 19th to the 25th of June. What do you think of that? It's good for Andy Murray to be shown at a big event.
Absolutely. I've said this before that I really want to see Andy Murray getting back to the big stage. I know he's had a lot of problems with injuries. I know he's not got the legs anymore, but to see him now back at a decent level is brilliant, and I hope that he competes well. You know, the one thing I would worry about again with Andy Murray is the injuries. That's the one thing I worry about. But it's great to see him back and competing at a decent level, and hopefully he does well. I'm sure he will, because he's been an absolutely brilliant icon for Scotland, Scottish sport, and I hope he gets back to something like his best.
Okay, that's Mr. D. That's all for us for this week then. The show flew in tonight. Thanks for all your comments on YouTube and Facebook. And we'll be back on Sunday to do it all again. Enjoy the football this weekend. And remember, keep it here on Indie Live, Radio and Independent Live. And we'll see you on Sunday. Cheers. Bye-bye.